copy of the resolution so, everyone can hear, what I'm proposing in this resolution. So the folks, in TV land out there can see it. And all the commissioners, I believe, Karen sent you a copy, I think, on Friday, so you probably had the weekend to take a look at it. And I'll just read it for everyone's benefit here. An Alleghany County resolution to preserve and defend the Constitution of the United States and the state of North Carolina. Whereas the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States provides a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the rights of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And whereas the Constitution of the state of North Carolina provides a well-regulated militia being necessary to secure the security of a free state, the right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And as standing armies in time of peace are dangerous to liberty, they shall not be maintained. And the military shall be kept under strict subordination to and governed by the civil power. Nothing herein shall justify the practice of carrying concealed weapons or prevent the General Assembly from enacting penal statutes against that practice. That's from the North Carolina Constitution, Article 1, Section 30. And whereas a militia, when properly formed, is in fact the people themselves and includes all men capable of bearing arms, and whereas it being necessary to the security of a free state meant that the right of the people to bear arms was and remains the ultimate barrier to government tyranny, and whereas gun control only ensures law-abiding citizens are powerless in the face of a criminal threat, and whereas the United States Supreme Court in recent months has twice upheld the Second Amendment as applying to individuals' rights to keep and bear arms, and whereas the President and the Vice President of the United States have been reported recently to be considering adopting laws, regulations, or actions under executive orders which would have the effect of infringing on our God-given rights of Americans to keep and bear arms, and whereas the reason given in support of such infringements as gun registration, banning certain kinds of weapons and accessories, requiring extreme background checks, restricting the bearing of arms, such as extensive restrictions on conceal and carry and possibly other restrictions, have not been shown by substantial weight of scientific evidence to have been effective in accomplishing the stated objectives of such restrictions as compelling necessities for government action to protect public safety. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Alleghany County Board of Commissioners sitting in duly called session on this day that the Alleghany County Board of Commissioners calls upon the Governor and the General Assembly of the state of North Carolina to immediately pass an act to nullify the implementation within the state of North Carolina of any federal law, executive order, or regulations restricting the rights to keep and bear arms, and be it further resolved, the county manager be directed to see that no county paid staff participate in nor allow any county resources be used in the implementation of any federal law, executive order, or executive directive that infringe on the rights to keep and bear arms, and be it further resolved that the General Assembly is petitioned to take the appropriate action to have a constitutional convention called upon by concurrence of 2/3 of state legislatures for the specific purpose of amending the United States Constitution to strengthen the Second and 10th Amendments as applicable against federal infringement of the inalienable rights of the people to keep and bear arms, and prohibit infringement by the federal government in the state's rights to guarantee the protection of the right to keep and bear arms, and be it further resolved that the General Assembly adopt the proposed amendment to the North Carolina Constitution to be submitted to the voters to change Article 1, Section 30, and again that's the North Carolina Constitution, to guarantee the right of law-abiding citizens to carry unimpeded a concealed weapon in any place that a duly sworn law enforcement officer may carry a weapon, and that any law passed by the General Assembly or imposed by any executive official restricting the rights to keep and bear arms be subject to the strictest judicial scrutiny if challenged as infringing on the rights to keep and bear arms, and be it further resolved that this resolution properly enacted and executed on this, if we, vote on it, would be today's date, 2013, be transmitted to the clerk of the Senate and the House of Representatives of the North Carolina General Assembly, Governor, and each member of the General Assembly, as well as to each county commission in the state of North Carolina, and to the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, and to the public. And that's my proposed resolution that I want this board to consider. As we heard, some comments here, I think we all know how the people in Alleghany County, feel, and we really need to look at, the Constitution, get back to the true meaning of the Constitution. And yes, we took an oath to uphold the Constitution. And, I don't take that lightly, and, as a matter of fact, I carry a copy of, both of them, the North Carolina and the United States Constitution. I'm very well versed in it. So I would like to make a motion that we adopt this resolution as written. And I know, Don had some questions about the county manager directing county officials. I've talked to the sheriff. I know how the sheriff feels. I understand you can't direct the sheriff. The sheriff has to do that himself. And yeah, the sheriff has studied the Constitution and took a class, and he assured me he's definitely on board, and he will uphold his oath of office, and so I don't think we have a problem there.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Well, I want to say a couple of things about this. I listened closely to Mr. Jones, and I understand guns. I was raised in a house that had them, and got some myself. Probably everybody in this room does. I got this via email, by the way, and I'll be honest. I looked at it probably yesterday, and there are a couple of things that you had mentioned, the one with the sheriff and with Don. And I'm a little bit confused. It's my understanding that this is being debated now in a Senate committee, possibly. And one of the things that confuses me a little, and I try to keep up with the news, and one of the issues was the background checks, of which I think at one time the head of the National Rifle Association, Mr. Lafayette, I think, that was something that they were interested in, but now maybe not so much. I'm a little confused by that. I know this is being debated right now. There's some wording that I know this isn't going to go away, but I would like to spend some time with this document before, that's my personal opinion, and I'd kind of like to, there's some things in here with the county manager, and there's some wording that I'm not 100% comfortable with right now.
I understand, I guess, your concern there, and really the background check, that's not part of the resolution in here.
Oh, I thought I saw something about extreme background checks.
Well, extreme background checks.
Well,
but
I'm sorry.
You know, anytime I guess we can get into a debate and we can debate the meaning of every single word in any one document.
Which we have done
Yeah,
before.
we have. The real key here is really the people's Second Amendment rights. And they're being infringed upon. And, you know, it's of my opinion that, you know, and that's why I proposed this resolution, that we need to take action to protect the people. That's why we're here.
That's right.
So far, we don't have a second. I mean,
Well, no, I know
I
that.
understand, it's fine, but, there is a motion, but we don't have a second, so I'd call for a second.
I would like to hear our legal, options on this, or if you'd rather delay it to the next meeting.
Well, I guess procedurally, your options are somebody can second it, you can have discussion and a vote, or if you don't have a second, you can't proceed. And I think that's really the option at the moment.
I mean, folks wanted to talk, and so even though we didn't have a second, it's appropriate, we need to hear from folks. But technically, we need a second to go ahead and consider this and continue the discussion.
I would like to say I'm pro-gun. Like Gene, I have guns in my house, and my personal shotgun has a ribbon around it, so I don't have to waste any time to find it. And I wouldn't hesitate to use it, like most of us in here. Don't feel like we have enough information, and we don't, there are words in here that I'm not certain they're accurate. You said the sheriff was comfortable with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I don't know that it's in the law that the county manager can manage the sheriff in any manner except financially.
And this is not proposing that he does that. And no, the sheriff is a duly elected official. The only thing really the county commissioners can do too, I mean, we can't tell him what to do, we control his budget, is the only thing we do, and, you know, under North Carolina law, we have to provide the sheriff with a budget. You know, and allow him to have one deputy, that's the only requirements under the state of North Carolina, but basically the sheriff is the top elected official in the county. The sheriff can enforce and do all this on his own, you know, in the county. That's not what this resolution is attempting to do.
Well, this resolution says the county manager will be directed to C, which means authorize. And I don't think the county manager can authorize the sheriff to do anything.
And again, it doesn't say that. It is not saying direct the sheriff. It's not gonna superimpose any North Carolina law. You can't do that. All that's saying is the county funds, we could get into emergency management. Certainly the county manager controls the funds and the direction of emergency management. But no, not the sheriff.
Well, folks, I'm gonna cut off the debate right there, because we still do not have a second on this. I've called for it for twice. I'll call one more time. Do we have a second? If not, the motion dies for lack of a second. We will go ahead to our general business, and I'm going to recognize the county manager, which has the budget schedule for 13-14 on the docket.
Basically, just what you have in front of you is